The time is 6:15. Here is the news, edited by Dulmin Samarasinghe, read by Victor Raj. Here are the headlines of the local news. The President will address the nation at 8:30 p.m. today. Discussions are held with Indian authorities to use 99 oil tanks in Trincomalee. The government decides to completely ban using lunch sheets and similar polythene products. Distribution of tabs to schools begins. Foreign news. Israel reimposes masks amid new coronavirus fears. Sports news. Wimbledon 2021. Simone Halep pulls out on eve of tournament. Local news in detail. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa will address the nation at 8:30 p.m. today. His speech will be broadcast live over SLBC's commercial service, CTFM, Tendril, English and all regional services. The full speech of the President will be broadcast from 7 a.m. over Subharati program of Sinhala National Service. Minister Uday Gamampila holds discussions with Indian authorities to use 99 oil tanks in Trincomalee by the Petroleum Corporation, which have been leased out to India. The United National Party government in 2002 leased out the oil tanks to Indian through a special lease deed. The Indian Oil Company uses 12 out of these tanks. The remaining 87 tanks are covered by dense forest. The present government has also recommenced the bunkering oil business. The government has decided to completely ban using lunch sheets and similar polythene products. The Environment Ministry has submitted a relevant cabinet proposal and the gazette is expected to be issued soon. It is reported that Sri Lanka is the only country in the world to use such polythene to wrap food. Supermarket networks use about 1 billion polythene bags monthly. 85% of them are later added to the environment. Director of the Health Promotion Bureau, Dr. Ranjit Batuwandara, says that the Delta variant is 70% more stronger than previous Alpha variant. He said that complications are also high. He said that no new Delta variant infected patients have been reported after the 5 infected persons earlier found from the country. The Ministry of Health says 1,843 more novel coronavirus patients were discharged from medical care within the last 24 hours. This brings the total number of recoveries from COVID-19 in the country to 214,668. Sri Lanka has so far reported 248,050 positive cases of COVID-19 and more than 30,600 of them are still being treated at hospitals and treatment centers. The death toll from the outbreak of the pandemic stands at 2,814. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Continuing with more local news. The program to introduce new technological applications to school network for quality education development is now being implemented. Accordingly, tabs are being distributed among schools. Under the first phase, more than 1,100 tabs were distributed today among teachers and students of 19 schools in the Kagala district. Under the second phase, tabs will be provided to 23 schools in the district. State Minister Kanaka Herath said that new technological equipment is an essential factor for quality education development. The Education Minister said all national school teachers who have been temporarily attached to another school and have completed their assignments should report to their permanent place after schools reopen. The Minister said if it is desired to further extend the attached tenure, a request should be made to the Director of Education after the commencement of school with the recommendations of the principal of their permanent place of work. Teachers attached to the national schools were assigned to other schools during the period when schools were closed due to the COVID-19 situation. The Indian High Commission says the INS Sharwak Sheikh, a survey ship of Indian Navy, docked at Colombo Harbour yesterday, strengthening close ties between the two neighbours. The ship, equipped with the state-of-the-art survey equipment including the side-scan sonar, would assist in the survey efforts being undertaken in vicinity of the ill-fated MV Express Pearl and off Colombo. The Indian High Commission said INS Savak Shark was deployed upon a formal request from the government of Sri Lanka to ensure safety of navigation in area outside the Colombo harbour. The joint survey operations would have the coordinated participation of the National Aquatic Resources Research and Development Agency, Sri Lanka Navy and Indian Navy. A coordination meeting was conducted today with the relevant officials to discuss further plan of the survey. Commander of the Navy, Vice Admiral Nishanta Ulugatana, today presided over opening of High Dependency Unit of Colombo South Technical Hospital Kalubovila. Renovated with Navy's manpower, it is a part of the initiatives to strengthen the government's program to expand infrastructure required to treat individuals tested positive for COVID-19. In response to a request made by the Ministry of Health, Sri Lanka Navy undertook the setting up of this special unit for special financial sponsorship was made by philanthropists from both home and abroad. Controller General U.V. Sarath Rupasire said Immigration and Immigration Department has decided to issue a limited number of passports in the one-day and normal service while adhering to health guidelines. He said that the department had decided to serve a limited number of clients at the main office in Battaramulla and the branch offices in Mathura, Bavnia, Kandy and Kurunagala. He said clients who are in urgent need of essential service requirements should visit the nearest branch office to their residence after receiving a date over the telephone. The Kilinochchi Regional Health Services Director Dr. Nagaratnam Saravanabhavan said 3,186 employees of the Kilinochchi Government Factory received the Sinopharm vaccine yesterday and today. He said another 1,132 employees in the Government Factory would be vaccinated in the next few days. Meanwhile, COVID vaccination program is being carried out for employees of Pulukudir Government Factory in the Mullaitivu. Regional epidemiologist in Mullaitivu, Dr. Vijayam Vijitharan said 582 people were vaccinated yesterday and another 400 today. That ends the local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Although Sri Lanka sees a downward trend in COVID-19 infections, the health authorities warned that there is always a risk of emerging new clusters in the country. Deputy Director General of Health Services, Dr. Hemanta Herath said decrease in active cases was not a yardstick to determine that the cases would continue to fall down in future. He said fluctuations could be seen as in any pandemic situation and added country is currently at a crucial juncture. That ends main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Moving on to Watchlight. Police spokesman SGI Jajit Rohana said legal action will be taken on the motorists who enter the Central Expressway, which is presently under construction. He said the vehicles also will be taken under police custody and will be produced for legal proceedings. That ends Watchlight. Moving on to world news, let's take a look at the headlines. Israel reimposes masks amid new coronavirus fears. Sydney city centre and Bondi Beach are to enter lockdown. Rescuers listen for sign of life in Miami building rubble. World news in detail. Israel has reintroduced a requirement to wear face masks indoors aimed at a rise in coronavirus cases. just days after it lifted the measure. Concerns has grown after the country recorded more than 100 new daily cases in successive days after registering 0 earlier this month. Most of the cases have been linked to the Delta variant from abroad. Israel has been one of the most successful countries in the world in tackling the pandemic. More than 1 million people in Sydney's central and eastern suburbs, including Bondi Beach, will be locked down after a jump in COVID cases. The Australian city is battling to contain an outbreak of the highly infectious Delta variant. Officials reported 17 new cases today, taking the cluster to 65 cases. It is the first lockdown in Australia's largest city since December. The country has consistently maintained very low rates of COVID transmission. Rescuers are desperately searching for a survivor trapped in the rubble of a collapsed 12-story residential building north of Miami. At least one person has been killed and 99 are still missing. As families desperately wait for news, search teams have been working around the clock and have reported hearing people banging beneath the debris. What caused the 40-year-old building to collapse early on Thursday morning remains unclear. To wrap up the world news, let's take a look at the headlines. Israel reimposes masks amid new coronavirus fears. Sydney city centre and Bondi Beach are to enter lockdown. Rescuers listen for signs of life in Miami building trouble. That ends world news. Moving on to development news. The Hambantota International Port Group has partnered with Shenzhen Xingji Group to set up a plug-and-play park-in-park manufacturing facility within the port's industrial zone. The concept is a fully fledged stand-alone industrial facility with some very unique features. Set to operate within the Hambantota International Port's industrial zone, the $16 million high-tech industrial facility will provide one-stop service for light industries. That ends development news. Moving on to sports news, tennis news. Defending women's champion Simona Halep has pulled out of Wimbledon because of a calf injury. The Romanian picked up the injury at May's Italian Open and was subsequently ruled out of the French Open. Meanwhile, two-time champion Andy Murray will play Georgia's Nicolas Basilashvili when he returns to the Wimbledon singles next week after a 4-year absence. Grand Prix news. Silverstone will be allowed to have a capacity crowd for the British Grand Prix on 18th July. The track can hold about 140,000 spectators, which will make it the largest crowd for a sporting event in the UK since the start of the coronavirus pandemic. Lewis Hamilton said he was excited about the news but worried about the rise in the COVID-19 cases in the UK. Olympics news. Paralympic swimming champion Alice Tai will not compete at the Tokyo Games because of an elbow injury. Tai, aged 22, was one of the Britain's best medal prospects, having won 7 gold at the 2019 World Para Swimming Championships in London. Football news. Edinson Cavani was the target as Uruguay beat Bolivia 2-0 to qualify for the quarterfinals of the Copa America. The Manchester United striker had spurned a number of chances before he converted Facundo Terro's cross with 11 minutes remaining. That ends sports news.
Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Savings account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply. Business news. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money.
RIL Property PLC said it completely divested its fully owned subsidiary Food Bus Private Limited, the holder of the Bread Talk franchise in Sri Lanka, to SS Security Holdings Private Limited for consideration of 245 million rupees. RIL Properties said in a stock market filing that the Divestment is aligned with the company's strategic investment activities and helps streamline its resources and business structure. That ends business news.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money. Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Savings account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply.
Economic news, courtesy of...
I bought my daughter a laptop for her work by managing my finances. Whatever the expenses may be, I can't afford to miss out on life's special moments like her birthday or our anniversary. So you need to invest to make your family's future flourish.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibilities. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act No. 42 of 2011.
The United Nations Conference on Trade and Development expects a slow recovery in foreign direct investment inflows to Sri Lanka after FDI flows to the country contracted by a sharp 43% year-on-year in 2020, mainly due to the pandemic. In 2020, FDI inflows declined to one of the lowest levels seen in recent years, as the country was only able to attract $434 million in FDI inflows compared to $758 million in 2019, and a peak of $1.6 billion recorded in 2018. That ends economic news.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act No. 42 of 2011.
Weather report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
The Met Department shows showers will occur at several places in Western and Sabaragama province and in Gol, Matara, Kandy and Nuwara districts. Showers or thundershowers will occur at a few places in Eastern and Uva provinces in the evening or night. That ends weather report.
Weather report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
To wrap up the evening news broadcast on Radio Sri Lanka, let's take a look at the headlines once again. The President will address the nation at 8:30 p.m. today. Discussions are held with Indian authorities to use 99 oil tanks in Trincomalee. The government decides to completely ban using lunch sheets and similar polythene products. Distribution of tabs to schools begins. Foreign news: Israel reimposes masks amid new coronavirus fears. Sports news: Wimbledon 2021. Simona Halep pulls out on eve of the tournament. With that, we wrap up the evening news on Radio Sri Lanka.